Hey, what's going on, people? My name is Jason Zila. I'm a member of R&D for Stoneblade Entertainment, and Justin Geary has asked me to create a step-by-step instructional guide, and it gives you guys a little insight into how our playtesting process works. So this will be a step-by-step instructional guide on how we take an initial design file, which is in front of me, and how do we take this file and convert it into something that we can actually print and play, or given everything that's happening in the world right now, how we convert that into a file that we can import into Tabletop Simulator. But that will be probably another video down the line. But for right now, let's just go over the basics. What I have in front of me right here is just, this is a fake file right now. This is traditionally what a design file will look like. Here are the different attributes for all the cards. We have about 48 different cards in this set. We're going to call this set, let's call it Project X. We have Project X, and like I said, these are the columns, so these are different attributes for the cards. We have the card name, right? So here's all the card names. We have different card types, about 4 or 5 different card types. We have, just the text. This is what will be on each of the cards. And then we have different colors for the cards. Maybe they're different factions. And then we also have how many copies of each card we want, right? So this is, the goal of this is to show you how we take this data and create and convert this into something that we can actually play with. And so the program that we use to do that is called Cocktail. And, props to Dan. Dan is a guy that we work with that created this program that is awesome. And we are truly grateful for that. So here's Cocktail. I'm going to load up, this is just a blank. I'm loading a Cocktail for the first time. We haven't linked anything. We haven't created a project in it. And so that's what we're going to do in this video. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. So if you go up to File, you can create a new project here, or we can just click on this icon, the little P with the star, and let's create a new project. It's asking for a project name. What do you think we should call it? Let's call it Project X, right? Makes sense. We need a project folder. I think I've already created this on my desktop. So on the desktop, we just have a blank folder, Project X. That's where this file will be saved. Yeah. And that is that. And so now we have, we have Project X, and here are all the different parts that Cocktail is gonna help us with. So we have a layout. This will be where we create our card, which we'll talk about later. This is a set, which we'll talk about a little bit later also. The key thing here is we want to talk about data sources, right? So we need to make sure that we link this design file, which I showed you earlier. We need to link this to Cocktail so we can read it, process it, and we can create cards in Cocktail. So in order to do this, the first thing that we have to do is, something that I'll do right now, is we have to create a new field in this design document. So we're going to insert one to the left, and it has to be the very first column, and it has to be called Card ID. This is something specific to Cocktail. It's just something that you have to do. This basically tells it where Cocktail will start reading your file at. And it needs to be in numerical order, so it's almost like numbering the cards in your set. So we have for each card, we have about 47 cards in this set, and that will be the first column. Let's make this look nice and neat. So I'm a little OCD. Okay, so here is still our file, and now we're going to go ahead and import this into Cocktail. So so we have a data source, so we want to go ahead and add a data source to this project, right? Project X needs some data. Let's give it some data. So you see this little icon here, it says Add Data Source, or we can go up here, I believe. I don't see Add Data Source up here, so let's just go to the little icon that says Add Data Source. And then it's going to ask for a link, right? So we just have to go back to Google Sheets. Let's copy our link that we want it to read. We'll go back and let's input this here, and we'll hit OK. And now it's going to go through some security measures. This is just typical Cocktail. We know Dan, the creator of Cocktail, so we're fine with this. So I'm not going to have the FBI breaking down my door anytime soon. It is fine. We trust it. Let's hit allow. Okay. And so now we should be linked up. So we can close this. Let's go back to our initial project. Here it is. Data source now has a arrow, right? And now it's reading this Google Sheet. We didn't have this before. So now it has a Google Sheet in here. The name of the file is called Project X. You guessed it. Okay. And so now what you see here is it is linking up, and so now we just have to input the right information, right? So it's trying to read, this is the card ID column that we created. This is the first thing that you always have to input. And so we put, it's looking for ID column, so card ID. It's looking for a name column, so we just go ahead and link that up with name. And voila, look at this. it is now reading all of the information that we have put into, that we put on the design file. It is now reading it in Cocktail. So that will basically, the rest of these columns aren't really important right now. We can go into this stuff later, but for now, what we just did is we linked our design file into Cocktail, and the next step will be we need to create a card template. So where do we want all that information that we looked at on this Google Sheet, right? Where do we want the name, type, text, color? Where do we want all the information to be placed onto the card? So the next phase, the next step will be basically just creating a card. We'll create a very generic template, but we will talk about that in the next video.